It's a really fast final, and that'll put all three of them up there in contention to be qualifying to nationals.
Terrific race by all three. Danny Bland sweeps the 60 and the 200. And we get set for the men's 200-meter dash next. One to keep your eye on here, Marvin Bennett from Carnegie Mellon, who ran that 6.99 in the 60-meter dash. He has gone back to receive some treatment on the right hamstring that seemed to bother him when he crossed that finish line. And you can just see underneath his compression shorts that his right hamstring has been wrapped up, so he's clearly received whatever medical attention he needed. And the wonder now is if it's enough to help him compete against a ridiculously fast field. Bennett prelim time 22:73. Malcolm Montelis 22:67. And Reagan Sherry from Brandeis 22:70. So all of these guys are running significantly sub 23. Tyson Miller, Irie Gord, and Eddie Wintergalen will run in the next leg. Marvin Bennett in the red top. Malcolm Montelis in lane 5. He and Bennett went 1-2 in the 60-meter dash.
I believe Bennett is saying he's pulled his hamstring, so I think he's just going to jog this one around or just get the point for his team.
Yeah, I think you're right. He's pulled up the right leg, and he's in a he's standing up. He's not down in his three-point stance. Montelis running it out against Reagan Sherry. A good sportsmanship there from Bennett to be able to get the point for his team. Down the stretch, Montelis and Sherry. Montelis with some great long strides late. Made it awfully close. I think he just out-touched him.
Yeah, just .06, that's big.
And so we are going to have to wait here for what I hope is not terribly long, but for Marvin Bennett's sake, hats off to him as he continues to walk around the track. It'll take him another minute or two, but he will eventually cross the line, and you're right, it will pick up 1 point for Carnegie Mellon as a team.
Yeah, but the 200 is so difficult on day 2 to run really fast. Just coming off, most of these guys have already run, coming off of 2 days now. You ran prelims yesterday. Most of you probably ran prelims and at least 1, maybe 2 other events as well. So you get to this point, just quick turnaround too for the 460-meter runners, and it's just can be very difficult and takes a lot out of you to run a really good 200 here.
The next contestants will have Tyson Miller, Irie Gord, and Eddie Wintergalen. Miller from the University of Chicago, Gord from Brandeis, and Wintergalen from Wash U. So both Reagan Sherry and Irie Gord running in this race from Brandeis. Meanwhile, Bennett coming down the home stretch here. Not commanding a ton of attention, but doing everything he can to just walk essentially at his own pace. Last thing you want to do is just worsen your injury at this point.
Yeah, he's just trying to get the points for his team, and that's a really admirable thing to do, and it's really great to see. You can hear all the clapping starting up, and that's just the appreciation that other athletes have for somebody sticking that one out for your team.
Great sportsmanship. Marvin Bennett officially finishes the race in a whopping 2 minutes, 25 seconds. I'm sure it's something someday he'll smile about, although it's probably a little frustrating that it finished that way for him. He seems to be in a good mood and congratulates both of his competitors out on the field, or I should say in the pit there in the middle. All right, so we can move along to the second heat. Tyson Miller in lane 4. Irie Gord, the one to watch. The fastest 200 meter, or I should say 400 meter dash time in the country at 47.81 seconds. Gord's 200 meter dash, 21.87. At the moment, it's good enough to get him to the national meet. So our contestants had taken their blocks, but now they will once again retake their marks. One lap around the track as fast as you can. Nice start on the outside for Wintergalen. Gord looks like he's just cruising through that opening turn, and he's really starting to show it.
Tyson Miller's running a great race here in lane 4.
Yeah, he's definitely keeping it tight. We'll see what Gord can do at the end. Gord is out front. Miller is right there with him. Miller is pulling ahead. Now it's Gord. Now it's Gord at the line, and he wins the race. Is it enough to win the UAA championship? 22.54. Miller went 22.66. I have to admit, I forgot to write down what Montelis and Sherry had finished at, but I think Gord's time was enough to win it.
Yeah, that'll be enough for Gord to win, and I think Miller gets second. I believe Montelis and Regan went 22.83 and 89.
That's what it was. You're right, 83-89. Okay, so Gord and Miller go 1-2 in the 200-meter dash, and Brandeis relying heavily on their best sprinter. What a race, though, from Tyson Miller. That was terrific.
Yeah, he ran a great race there. His first curve was really nice. He ran a great backstretch to put himself in position to fight along that second curve.
So with only 4 races remaining, it's the women's 3,000-meter final, the men's 3,000-meter final, and then we'll have the women's and men's 1,600-meter relays. Since all the ladies have taken the track and everybody runs the 3,000 all at once, we are going to just kind of run through the list of contestants, since this is a race that will take roughly 11 minutes or so to complete. From Emory, Kaylee Slade, Claire Costello running for Chicago, Parvati Mayapan from Carnegie Mellon, Hannah Haley, NYU, representing Brandeis, Emily Bryson, who chose not to run earlier today because she wanted to compete in the 3,000, and she is certainly one of the favorites in this race. Sophie Watterson from WashU, Sophie Elgamal from the University of Chicago is another terrific young runner. She and Bryson very likely the top 2 runners in this race, at least coming in. Danielle Barteau from Brandeis, representing Chicago, Kelsey Dunn. Brandeis's Nima Kenny. Madeline Lindemann from Case, WashU, Allison Lindsay. Carnegie Mellon, Isabel Shikanowski. Washington University's Molly Shepard. Meredith Hughes from Emory. Danielle Kulpins from Case. 2 ladies from NYU, Sabrina Herman and Morel Malcolm. From Emory, Kerry McIntyre. And from Carnegie Mellon, Aparna Alavili. That's your entire field for the women's 3,000-meter run. Fastest qualifying times were the 10 minutes 9 seconds and change from Elgamal of Chicago and Bryson from Brandeis. They would need to run the race of their life to break the conference record, which is a solid 24 seconds faster than that.
Yeah, and Allison Lindsay, who holds that record, is in this race as well.
Allison Lindsay did not have a qualifying time because, as you mentioned, she was the record holder. She set that in this race last year. We'll see if she can repeat as champion. off they go in the women's 3,000 meter. In the meantime, because we haven't had a chance to give you much of an update from the men's pole vault or the men's shot put, the men's shot put results are now official, and the winner is Alex Scott. His best throw, 15.68 meters, which is just off his prelim throw from yesterday, but it was significantly, far and away, the best throw of the day on the shot put. So Alex Scott is a champion. Carnegie Mellon's Bram Miller finished in second. Carnegie Mellon also took third place. Jacob Schoeffel. Jonathan Doby from Chicago placed fourth in the men's shot put. Scott Grote went fifth. Logan Stahl from Carnegie Mellon went sixth. And Scott Grote is from Brandeis, so he picks up 2 points for the judges. All right, we're going to step aside here for a couple of minutes while this lengthy race is going on, and we'll pick it up a little bit later on. But know that they'll be out on the track for a minimum of 10 minutes. Maybe we'll see the winner finish just under that if Allison Lindsay can run another fabulous race. In the meantime, we'll step aside for a couple minutes and continue to give you some pictures of the women's 3,000 meter. The 2018 Indoor Track and Field Championships at Case Western Reserve for the UAA continue here all afternoon. All right, we're in the middle of the women's 3K. And should be getting fairly close to the finish. Probably within the next 90 seconds to 2 minutes, we will have a champion in this race. Nate, who have you liked so far?
Well, we have Allison Lindsay up there and Emily Bryson. Those two are running really great. They're starting to separate themselves a little bit from Sophie Watterson. I believe Sophie Elgamal is in 4th right now, behind Watterson.
Obviously, Allison Lindsay, one of the best in recent memory in the UAA, but certainly need to see something special from her.
Bryson's starting to put a move in here to separate herself from Allison Lindsay.
Yeah, she sure is. Bryson has not beaten 10 minutes in the 3,000 meter yet this year. It would take a heck of a closing stretch for her to do that, but she has turned it on and she's flying down the back stretch right now. She's got a real chance to break. In fact, she's definitely going to break 10 minutes. What an incredible finish. I mean, I'm not sure you can run much faster down the stretch without falling over. Emily Bryson crushes with 9:54, crushes her prelim time of 10 minutes, 9 seconds. Allison Lindsay comes in 2nd place. Allison Lindsay's conference record from last year is still intact, but Bryson just absolutely annihilates the rest of the field by 9 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, she just had a great closing finish that last 300 meters, so that really separated herself from Lindsay and Watterson and Elgamal. They were a little bit tightly packed, probably a couple seconds between them, and she just turned it on and left all of them behind.
So Washington University goes 2nd and 3rd, and they'll pick up 14 big points as a couple of runners receive some medical attention. I'm sure it's difficult. You get that deep into a race and you're fighting all the cramps and the dehydration that come with all the adrenaline that rushes through your body in running a race that long. And we still have, actually, you know what? I think that was the last runner that just crossed the finish line there. Yep, indeed it was. Did not see who that was for Brandeis that needed a little help after the race is over, but congratulations to Emily Bryson, your champion in the women's 3,000 meter dash. It's not really a dash, it's a 3,000 meter run. Although some of them, like Bryson down the stretch, turned it on and made it feel like a dash.
Yeah, they closed really well there.
I believe it was Danielle Berteau that was fighting some real cramping down the end of that run from Brandeis. Hopefully she's okay, as the athletic training staff from Brandeis tends to her. So Emily Bryson from Brandeis, her teammate, is the 3,000 meter champion. Now on the men's side, we're expecting a fun race on this one too. There are 20 runners who will compete. We'll give them all to you in a minute, but at the top, who are some of the guys here on here that you like?
Well, if you look at the performance list, Neil Sadler's up there at number 6 in the nation right now with a time of 8:17. Ryan Stender's not far behind at 17th at 8:21, and Sam Merriman's up there with an 8:27, but you can't count out Marco Karani and Elvir Siralagic and Nick Matucci, I believe, is running this. Maybe not. But there's a lot of really great runners in this, and again, just like on the women's side, there are a few out there at the top, but this really could be anybody's race.
Ryan Stender from from Brandeis, you mentioned was in 19th in the country. He is on the verge of qualifying for the national meet. Now in a race like this, of this length, How much time would you take off for a bank track versus a flat track? I know you said usually it's around 0.8 of a second for a 400-meter dash. I'm not sure I could do the math that quickly.
It seems to be about 5, almost 6 seconds.
Okay.
So it's pretty sizable, but these guys are going to be running really fast, and you can expect to see some really great things from them. Just across the board, there's a lot of talent here. Just in the UAA in general, you're going to see a lot of people at the top fighting, and that's a big reason that the UAA there's so much depth, is because the UAA is just a great conference, and the conference sends 3, 4, 5 teams every year to the cross-country championships. So that depth comes out here in the 3K and 5K, and it's so hard to score. It takes a lot. You have to be a really great athlete just to have a great race here as well. So I expect to see some great things. I think Stender's a great person to watch here on the mile last night on the DMR. So did Neil Sadler, and Sam Merriman's coming back from the 5K yesterday. So is Peter Johnsrud. I think Mitchell Hutton of Brandeis is as well. But there's a lot of really great athletes here, and it'll be pretty wide open. And you can never count out the Wash U athletes. They're just a phenomenal distance program and always near the top in cross country.
Well, you mentioned Neil Sadler's name off the top first, and he is certainly the favorite. I mean, his best 3,000-meter time is 5 seconds better than the top time Ryan Stender's put up this year. And so at least based on past performance, Neil Sadler would appear to be the favorite. Conference record for the men's 3,000-meter dash. How about 3,000-meter run? It's a record set in 2014. That's an 8-minute, 21.99 seconds from WashU's Andrew Paget. Anyways, off they go, and we'll be running for roughly 9 minutes or so.
Yeah, you can expect to see these guys probably start to push and come close to that conference record.
I definitely think there are some pretty darn good runners, and maybe we will see a conference record fall at this meet. It'll be the first time today that we would see someone break a conference record. Be awfully fun. Hey, when this race is done, there's only 2 more races left, and then the conference track and field indoor meet would come to its conclusion. Those final 2 races are the women's and then the men's 4x4 relay teams. 1,600-meter relay finals coming up shortly. Men's 5K was yesterday. Of course, they try to spread out some of the distance races over the course of the 2-day weekend. The men's 5K final was held yesterday. You also mentioned the DMR. And then today they have the mile and the 3,000, especially since some of these guys run more than one of those races.
Yeah, there's going to be several guys doubling back in here, and from either the mile or the DMR or the 5K. So you can expect to see some fast things. And even though they are doubling back, they're still going to be running real fast and probably push towards the conference record.
We can give you an updated men's team score through 13 events, and it's actually pretty tight. Washington University with 99 points, Carnegie Mellon with 91 points. And those were through the 200-meter dash. So after the 200-meter dash, they still have to obviously score this one.
I'm all in, Kev. I'm here now.
But so far, so good for Washington University as they try to win the conference championship. Of course, they've never done that. Only kidding. Nobody's done it more often. In fact, it would be the 4th year in a row for WashU, and it could be the 7th time in 8 years that they finish tops in the UAA, at least on the men's side. They have never finished worse than 4th, by the way. Incredible. They've only had 3 non-first place finishes.
I believe last year
2005
was one of those. Carnegie Mellon won the team title. I believe they won 3 in a row, and they're contending here today, only 8 points back.
And there's no doubt that Carnegie Mellon is making a strong case.
Sam Merriman
I'm
has
just going to
moved
say, nice
all the
to
way
see
up to the
Case
front. Yeah.
move out to the front of the lead.
A couple of laps ago, he was sitting on the back end of this group, and now he's up there in the front, setting the pace.
We'll see how long Mr. Merriman can hold that up. 3 minutes, 20 seconds into the race. Of course, you can see the timer there in the top right-hand corner of your screen. Merriman's hanging on, but certainly being contested by Neil Sadler. You almost wonder if Sadler from NYU is just sort of sitting there going, okay, I'll let you lead for a little bit. I'll conserve my energy, or at least let you set the pace, and then I'll take off after you.
Yeah, and then you got Carnegie up there with 3 guys grouped up, and that's really big too. You know, you get 3 guys running together, start working together, and comes down to a late race, you can, you know, start working together and maybe make a push and get 2 guys in that top 6.
Merriman and Sadler 1-2 at the moment. Brandeis and Ryan Stender hot on the tail. Roughly halfway through. And for the first time, we're starting to see some real separation here. The front of the pack still largely grouped up, but it starts to thin out after that.
Yeah, there's about 12 guys in this front group, and then there's 2 or 3 close behind as well.
Stender. Brandeis is Mitchell Hutton. And Washington University's Marco Quaroni. And Elvir Sarajilik. All kind of hanging out together.
The top 4 are starting to separate now too.
They are. It's still Merriman out front for Case, and he is still being trailed by Neil Sadler, who's in the purple shirt. Brandeis and Carnegie Mellon 3-4 at the moment. Carnegie Mellon's George Harder hanging around in 4th place. Had a pretty good run in the prelims, 8:43.77. This is qualifying time. Merriman holding his inside position. It's Merriman, then Sadler, then Stender, and then Harder. It's got to be only a couple laps remaining. These guys are roughly 2.5 minutes or so from being finished with the race. They're at 6:20 at the moment. It's still Merriman for the Spartans. Could Sam Merriman possibly be working his way toward a UAA championship here?
Yeah, if he did, that would be a double with the 5K and the 3K, which is not very common, but does happen. But Neil Sadler's now overtaken him, and Stender, it appears they're ready to pick up the pace a little bit and start to go for a national qualifying time.
Well, there are only 6 runners ever who have won both the 5K and the 3K. And at the moment, Merriman will have work to do to make that up because Neil Sadler is well out in front of him. There's your leader, Neil Sadler. Close behind him, Mitchell Hutton. Sadler comes down the straightaway. And all of a sudden, Sadler's opened up a huge lead. Ryan Stender right behind him. Merriman fell all the way back to 3rd.
I believe they have about 300 meters left to go, so when they come through, they'll be hitting the bell lap.
And there's the bell. Final push for Neil Sadler, who is nearly 50 meters ahead of the rest of the race. Case of Sam Merriman trying to stay on the podium. He's pulling away from George Harder a little bit. Neil Sadler coming down the final stretch. He will win the race easily. Neil Sadler, your University Athletic Association 3,000 meter champion. In second place, Sam Merriman. Great closing stretch for him. In third place, Ryan Stender. In fourth place, George Harder. How about that push from Merriman that last lap?
Yeah, that was a great kick by him to finish that one off and go get Stender and get himself a second place finish.
8:31.70, the winning time. It's roughly 10 seconds off of the conference record pace, but still darn good. And 8:31.70 is way better than any of the preliminary times coming in. And so we've reached our final two races of the day. By the way, we still unfortunately don't have the results from the pole vault yet, but we'll get those to you as soon as we get something. So we are coming down the stretch. Unfortunately, we don't think we have a real updated tally to give you for the team standings beyond what we had already sent your way. We can tell you this on the women's side. Actually, this is through the 3K. All right, so forget what I just said. This is coming into the final race. University of Chicago has a 7-point lead over Wash U, 130 to 123. In the 4x4, given that Chicago has a 7-point lead, Chicago and Wash U will both race in the second part of that. You would essentially have to have Washington University win the race and Chicago essentially finish as one of the last couple in order to be overcome.
They would have to finish, 5th, 6th, or 7th with Wash U winning for Chicago to lose. But again, that's not uncommon. There's every year somebody seems to drop a baton or something seems to go wrong, so you can never predict what's going on. You just have to get out there and run hard and finish the race.
Emory is in third place with 94 points, and then it's not close after that. Brandeis, 39, is in fourth place. Case is fighting for a fourth place spot. They're 5 points behind Brandeis. Carnegie Mellon 24 and NYU 21. They've had two champions today, but outside of that, not much to show for. It'll be the women's 4x4. Each runner with 2 laps around the track. 2 sections. It'll be NYU, Case, and Brandeis in the first one. Justine Sanders-Schifano will run the opening leg for NYU along with Evelyn Nkenga, who is the triple jump champion. Ireland Gibson and Noella Franco. For Case, Julie Hines, Mary Louise Kloster, Vanessa Pasadin, and Olivia Newman. And for Brandeis, Kayla Fahey, Leonie Valdez, Lisbeth Valdez, and Doyen Ogundiran. Those will be the ladies that will compete here in the 4x4. NYU in purple, so they'll be in lane 4. Case in lane 5 in navy. And in the navy and white stripes, Brandeis in lane 6. University of Chicago as a team in terrific positioning to win the meet, but they've got to close it out strong. And the fun news is that they'll run against Washington University in that next sectional, so they can do it head-to-head. Here we go, the opening leg of the women's 1,600 meter relay. Justine Sanders-Schifano, Julie Hines, and Kayla Fahey all on the track at the outset. Sanders-Schifano hanging tough, but she's in third place at the moment. Julie Hines with a good start for Case. Kayla Fahey in second place. They'll exchange the batons in roughly 100 meters. The way they're lining up from in to out, Case, Brandeis, NYU on the track.
Great opening leg by Case here, winning the break and then just controlling the race from there on out.
Marie-Louise Kloster, the first one to grab it. She's running out front for Brandeis. Right behind her is Lenny Valdez. And we'll see what kind of 4x4 athlete Evelyn Nkenga is for NYU. We know she is a really strong triple jumper. Nkenga having a good start to the race. Case still out front. All 7 schools running this race, Carnegie Mellon, Chicago, Emory, and Wash U, will compete in the next section. Case's qualifying time was significantly faster than the other 2 that they're racing with here. We'll see if it holds up. Second of the 4 legs, nearing its conclusion. Next up for NYU, Ireland Gibson. Case will hand off to Vanessa Passadin. And for Brandeis, it's Lisbeth Valdez. Brandeis makes a push, and now they've got the lead after 2 legs. Really nice job by Leonie Valdez on that second stretch of 200 meters for Brandeis.
She had a great close there to be able to hand off to her twin sister, actually. And now they're all 3 teams are really close, and it's going to come down to this final leg.
Essentially 3 laps around the track remaining. Brandeis, Case, NYU in that order. Valdez, Passadin, and Gibson. And Brandeis is flying. Case is hoping that Olivia Newman can give them something special at the end. Because Brandeis has the lead, they'll be on the inside, and they're going to have a huge lead. Case is falling back in the pack. Gibson starting to keep it really tight for NYU. Down the stretch, Brandeis goes. They start the final leg, and they are a mile out front. NYU's Noella Franco has overtaken Olivia Newman for Case Western. Doyan Ugandiran for Brandeis. At the moment has a lead of about 25 to 30 meters. But Noella Franco is closing a lot of ground in that first lap.
It's important to run a great race here because you never know what's going to happen in that second heat. Somebody might drop the baton, or who knows what's going to happen. And if you run fast enough here, you can put yourself in a great position to move up and steal some points.
And look how fast Franco is closing. You can tell she's trying to save some of that for the last leg, but she is making this really tight. Franco is only a couple strides behind for NYU.
She's really turning it on now.
She sure is, and she is pulling out in front. Ogundiran trying to hang on. NYU and Brandeis a photo finish. And it's NYU that touches first, then Brandeis, then Case. NYU by literally 1/100th of a second.
It's the second super tight race we've seen today. Really got some incredible races going on, super competitive all the way from start to finish.
And so the women's second section of the 4x4 waits ahead of us. 4:03.51, the time to beat. 4:03.52 wouldn't be a bad one either. This is one you want to keep your eye on. Essentially lanes 4 and 6 at the outset, because the team scores have come down to Chicago and Washington University. After day 1, Wash U had the lead, but give Chicago a lot of credit for the way they've competed today, because especially with the 24 points they got in the high jump. And with some of the short races too, Chicago has pushed themselves out front. They've got a 6-point lead. Check that, 7-point lead. They have a 7-point lead on Washington University going into this final race.
Yeah, so Chicago needs to finish in the top 4 if Washington wins this.
You're right. As long as they have a top 4 finish, then they will guarantee themselves the UAA team championship. UAA, or I should say WashU, obviously they can still win, but they need some help. If WashU does not win the race and they only get 8 points, they need disaster to happen for Chicago, where the Maroons would either have to finish in 6th and get 1 point, then you would share the title, or the Maroons would somehow finish in either 7th. Perhaps someone drops the baton. That would be that would qualify as disastrous. WashU knows that they got to win this thing if they want to win it all. We'll give you the contestants here momentarily. Some really fun runners on the track. For WashU, Sophie Grigau. For Emory in lane 5, Dillis Osei, who's been great today. For Chicago, Nicole Vaca-Guzman. And for Carnegie Mellon, Deborati Banja. Vaca-Guzman is a terrific sprinter, and we have enjoyed seeing her several times throughout the course of the day. She is out front with Carnegie Mellon in 2nd. Then it's Emory. Then it's WashU. Sophie Grigau hanging tough. When they hand it off, Carnegie Mellon gives to Valerie Railing. Chicago will then go to Cassidy McPherson. Caitlin Leonard waiting for Emory. Sarah Messiano for Washington University. It is still Chicago out front, although that gap is closing. Emory charging on the outside. It's a tough closing stretch for Vaca-Guzman, who's run out of gas, and Emory races to the lead. Check that, it's Danny Bland, I beg your pardon, who grabs it 2nd. Nikki Altoff for WashU runs the 2nd leg. Olivia Katow and Joanna Barnowski also on the track. Katow has a tough task ahead of her to try and hold off Danny Bland for Emory. At the moment, she's handling that okay. WashU making up some ground. Nikki Altoff right on their tails, and all of a sudden Carnegie Mellon's fallen way back. It's Danny Bland out front, trying to push Emory out to a big lead. Emory, Chicago, WashU, Carnegie Mellon in that order. Time to beat was 5:03.82.
Yeah, 4:03, so.
I'm sorry, 4:03.82.
Both these teams are on great pace, though.
More than halfway through the race. And it's Chicago's Cassidy McPherson, who is really hauling out in front of the pack. Chicago trying to take matters into their own hands. If they win the race, then there's no question whatsoever they would win the team title.
They're really trying to put an exclamation point on this championship, though, by winning the 4x4.
Chicago finishing in 2nd place each of the last 2 years on the women's side, after winning back-to-back years 2014 and 15. Final leg of the women's 4x4 relay coming up. Emory's out in front, then Chicago, then Washington University. Emory takes it in the final stretch. Erica Goldman. Emma Kother for Chicago. Annalise Wagner, who is mighty fast. WashU runs the anchor leg. Carnegie Mellon, Sarah Cook has faded deep into 4th place. She's almost 170 meters behind. With 1 lap remaining, Emory, Chicago, WashU in that order. Chicago is staring at a team title. Washington University trying to make a push. Wahner, Goldman, and Kother. It's Goldman for Emery down the final straightaway. Kother right behind her. Wahner trying to close but running out of gas, and it's Emery that wins the 4x4. Chicago in second, Washington University in third, and with those times, it's official for Chicago. They are your women's team champions in 2018. How about the sub 4 minute times?
That was incredibly
fast. 3 of them. That was unbelievable.
I mean, that final leg was extraordinary the whole way. All 3 of them were duking it out the whole way, and with that second place finish by Chicago, they locked up that team championship.
So Emory, Chicago, and WashU all earn all UAA recognition in the women's 4x4.
Yeah, you can see Chicago down here in the middle of the screen celebrating after that second place 4x4.
They have most certainly been following the same live numbers and stats that you have followed, and they know that the ladies are in a great spot. Meanwhile, on the men's side, WashU has a 7-point lead over Carnegie Mellon. 102-95 coming into this final race. Carnegie Mellon will race in the first section. WashU will race in the second section. And again, because it's a 7-point difference, the only way for Carnegie Mellon to win is if they win the team title, is if they win the race and they get some help, or if they get second place and they get a ton of help. Not out of the question yet for the Tartans. We are looking at approximately a 2:30 start time for our final race of the day. So we'll step aside one last time. One more race to complete before we'll put a bow on our coverage of the 2018 UAA Indoor Track and Field Competition. It's one of the feature races all weekend, the men's 4x4, when we come back to Case Western Reserve.
and then Wahner. And second place was the University of Chicago team of Emma Coder, Mary Martin, Olivia Canal, and Nicole Megan. And in first place, the team from Emory University, New York Public. Thomas Osei, Davey Bland, Caitlin Leonard, and Erica Goldman of Emory with the time of 3 minutes 56.4 seconds. Your final results in the men's meet. We have a 6th place tie between Carnegie Mellon and New York University with 25 points. In 5th place was Case Western Reserve University with 34 points. In 4th place, Brandeis University had 41 points. And 5th place, Emory University had 104 points. And 2nd place, Washington University had 129 points. And this year's the UAA Women's Champion, the University of Chicago, with 138 points.
We are closing in on the end of our day with only the men's 4x4 left on the docket. I guess that was a false alarm at a bad shot. I don't know. I got nothing.
Seemed like they might be testing the clock.
Oh, okay. I got you. You almost did it in somebody's ear. It was a nice flinch down on the track. That was kind of funny. Whatever the case might be, Washington University and Carnegie Mellon are right now the top 2 teams in the conference. And actually, it appears as though Washington University has already locked it up. After looking at the events that are scored, I believe Washington University is 15 points ahead of Carnegie Mellon. So Wash U's men will win the title. It's a matter of whether or not they win the 4x4 too.
Yeah, it looks like Wash U had a big day in pole vault here to secure that one.
Yeah, the top 4 pole vaulters, Wash U went 1-2, Carnegie Mellon went 3-4, and with those results, Washington University's men will win the meet. In the meantime, it's Carnegie Mellon, Brandeis, and Emory in the first section of the 4x4, during which the record was set in 2016 by NYU, and with Malcolm Montelis, who we've already seen run. He'll run in the next section. Brandeis pulls ahead of Emory with Carnegie Mellon on their tails. Ben Rogan running for Emory. Churchill Perry for Brandeis, who was a fabulous triple jumper. He was a UAA champ. And Grant Johnson for Carnegie Mellon. The Brandeis handoff comes from Perry. It goes to Patrick Quinlan. For Emory, Robert Wilhelm. And now for Carnegie Mellon, pulling up the back, Arthur Diezenzuski. Brandeis out to a comfortable lead.
Yeah, Brandeis is running great here. They've got complete control of this race thanks to Churchill Perry. He's a great 400-meter runner as well as a great triple jumper, and he's really put a great start on this for them.
Brandeis, Emory, Carnegie Mellon in that order. Everybody cheering on the 3 on the track. Evan Larrick, Henry McDonald, Alex Rand all waiting for their turn. Brandeis still comfortably ahead. Emory closing a bit of distance down the final straightaway here. The race is halfway over. Good handoffs. And the race continues. Henry McDonald for Brandeis. extends the lead a bit over Alex Rand, although Rand is racing down that straightaway, and Emery is closing quickly. Henry McDonald needs to kick it in gear because Alex Rand is right on top of him, and Alex Rand from Emery overtakes him. Carnegie Mellon's faded into a distant third. What a third leg from Alex Rand and Emery, but can he hang on with it?
Yeah, that was a huge move. Just slid right by him to take the lead and hopefully give his guy, looks like Arya Mosini, a good chance to finish this one off. But Irie Gord is a very talented guy, and he's going to be coming for him the whole time.
He is one of the fastest in the country in the 2 and the 400. Irie Gord is going to have his work cut out for him. Liam Faust from Emery, pretty darn good himself as Gord leans into the turn. Isaac Mills for Carnegie Mellon running the anchor in red. Faust leads Gord by a good 4 strides. He might have even extended it a bit as Gord tries to use the straightaway to close a little distance, which he is most certainly doing. And in the final lap they come. Gord is measuring to try and make his move. Irie Gord goes to the outside and he blows by Faust. Unbelievable. He went from 3 lengths back to 3 up in about 40 meters.
Yeah, you can really see the strength that Irie Gord has in that backstretch, and look at him finish this one off.
He is smoking the rest of the team. Nothing Liam Faust could have done. That was a fabulous effort from him, but Irie Gord absolutely turned it on. Isaac Mills for Carnegie Mellon finished as best he could as Gord nearly collapses at the finish line. It's a full 1 second win for Gord. Wow.
That's a PR for them on the season too, by over a second. So that's big, and that's great to do at the end of a 2-day championship meet.
Congratulations to them. The top-ranked 4x4 team on the men's side in the UAA is Washington University. And it's the combination that is going to run here today. Jason Singer, Eddie Wintergalen, John Harry Wagner, and John Fleming in that order. Wash U will be in lane 5. Chicago had a pretty good qualifying time too of 3:25.66. Case, widely regarded as one of the better teams in the conference, at 3:25.57. They'll run in lane 6, NYU in lane 3. And don't sleep on them. NYU 2 years ago set the conference championship record with a 3:18.94 mark. And the man who runs the second leg of this race, Malcolm Monolis, was a member on that team 2 years ago. He's still running here this year. His brother Julian runs the first leg, and then Vincent Booth and Sean Andrade to follow for NYU. Washington University, no matter what happens in this race, they have already won the team competition here in conference. But don't think that's dissuading anybody on the track from running any faster or slower. 4x4 is so much fun, and it's always cool to see this this particular relay race close out the meet.
Yeah, this is going to be a really exciting race. These 4 teams are always excellent in the 4x4, and usually at least one of them is going to nationals every year. So
perhaps there's another problem with the gun as the officials congregate near side.
this is where it's really big to take a breath and like relax yourself before you get going again, because you just had a bunch of adrenaline pumping and then you got called up.
Off they go. Clean starts all the way around. Julian Monolis in lane 3 for NYU. For Chicago, it's Obi Wamu in lane 5 for Wash U, Jason Singer. And Case Western's Jonathan Haling in lane 6.
I believe this is Sean Andrade for NYU and Grant Malak for Case Western. They switched up the order a little bit.
Yeah, they have switched up the order. You're right. Good eyes. Haling still running, though, for Case. Wash U right now with Jason Singer in last place. But Singer's making a bit of a closing push. Andrade out front for, I beg your pardon, that's Chicago that's out front. A little bit of jockeying for some positioning. Elliot Paintsill from Chicago leads the pack. Case in second. Grant Black running for the Spartans. Eddie Wintergalen for Washington University. It's still the Maroons leading the way. Then Case, then Wash U, then NYU. Yeah, it looks like Malcolm Montelis for NYU is going to run the anchor leg. Probably not a bad idea with as well as he's run today. Wash U charging on the Maroons, and what a closing 200 meters from Eddie Wintergalen. Wash U takes the lead. It's John Harry Wagner ahead. Ben Chamberg right behind him.
It's going to be a really exciting finish to watch these 4 teams finish it off. You got Malcolm Montelis and Tyson Miller's another great quarter miler.
Tyson Miller for Chicago and Malcolm Montelis for NYU will go neck and neck, you would think. Case Western Reserve trying to hang tough. Dominic Otto. Down the backside, Chicago takes the lead once more as Chamberg comes ahead. John Harry Wagner keeping it tight. Chamberg and Wagner. The first 2 to the handoffs. Off they come. Tyson Miller for Chicago. John Fleming for Wash U. Malcolm Montelis has his work cut out for him. He's got to run with all his might, coming from a long way back, a good 50 meters off when he first grabbed the baton. Chicago pulling away a bit. Tyson Miller sprinting well. Case has taken its way into second place on the final lap. Tyson Miller way out front. Mike Radeski for the host Spartans. Does he have something magical here at the very end of the meet? Montelis has come all the way back and taken the lead, or I should say taken the 3rd place away from Wash U.
This is going to come down to time, too.
Chicago sailing toward the finish. Let's see what the time is, but it looks like it might be good enough to win the UAA title. Case in second, NYU in third, Wash U in fourth in this section. Wow, Chicago 3:22.77 is blazing fast.
Yeah, that's a really fast time. Great race by them, and Tyson Miller really finished it off.
So the University of Chicago comes in first place in the men's 4x4 relay, but Washington University wins the 2018 men's team title. So congratulations to the Bears, the victors on the men's side, and to the Maroons, the victors on the ladies' side. We'll take a quick timeout. When we come back, we'll kind of recap a couple things for you, tell you about some of the winners throughout the course of the day. And won't be long before those inside the field house here hear the announcements of the individual champions that are voted as the track athletes of the meet or the field athletes of the meet. They will also recognize the team champions and recognize the coaching staffs of the year. So some awards to come, but it's been a fun weekend here at Case Western Reserve. More when we return to Case after this.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get started with our award ceremony. Okay, our first event will be the men's triple jump. In third place,
So the 2018 UAA Indoor Track and Field Championships have concluded, and they are beginning some of the award presentations down on the floor. All the medals for the 3 top finishers in each event on both the men's and women's side. Lots of athletes are going to be recognized for some outstanding work here today. Nate, it's been a fun weekend. Certainly enjoyed covering the final day here with you today. Any performances in particular over the course of this weekend that really stood out to you?
On the men's side, you have to look at Neil Sadler and Sam Merriman. Just great performances there. Ran really great. Irie Gord ran great in the sprints. And then if you're on the women's side, Dulles Osei, Denny Bland, and then great stuff in the distance by the Bryson twins and I'm blanking on WashU. They had some really great performances there. So I think overall it'll be interesting to see who the coaches decide are the most valuable performers, and it's exciting to see all these athletes be able to step on the podium and receive their medals.
How about Chicago? Top 3 finishers in the women's high jump. I think those 3 young ladies are about to be recognized here. 1, 2, 3. Really just, they picked up 24 huge points, and that was a large reason why they ended up being team champions on the ladies' side. So congratulations to all of our competitors. It's been a ton of fun over the course of the weekend to cover the UAA Indoor Track and Field Championships. Big thank you to our production crew as well. This was phenomenal coverage from Case Western Reserve University. Hope you enjoyed the weekend coverage. We had as many as 6 cameras from lots of different angles to try and show you as many of the different events as we could, as you see some awfully happy Maroons there atop the podium. On behalf of Nate Wahner and our entire production crew, the sports information staff and athletic department staff at Case, I'm Brendan Gulick. Thanks so much for staying with us this afternoon, and we will throw it down to the floor here to continue our coverage of the podium and all the pictures and celebrations on the floor. But for us here in the booth, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on athletics.case.edu.
this is not feeling right.
Our next event is the men's shot put. In third place, Jacob Schultz, Carnegie Mellon. In second place, Graham Miller, Carnegie Mellon. And this year's men's shot put champion is Alex Scott. Our next event is the women's 1 mile run. In third place, Abigail Martin from the University of Washington. In second place, Megan Warner Chris from the University of Chicago. And this year's women's mile champion from Emory University, Gabrielle Savage. Our next event is the men's 1 mile run. In third place, Max Brown from Emory University. In second place, Evan Yukevich, Carnegie Mellon University. And this year's men's Mile 1 champion from Washington University is Nick Bertucci.
Can I take this to stack up those?
Our next event is the women's 60-meter hurdles. In third place, Kara Watson-Haynes, Washington University. In second place, Jalon Pittman, Washington University. And this year's women's 60-meter champion from Emory University, Gillis Jose. Our next event is the men's 60-meter hurdles. In third place, Andrew Whitaker, Washington University. In second place, Benjamin Robin, Emory University. And this year's men's 60-meter hurdles champion from the University of Chicago, Patrick Lefevre. Our next event is the men's 400-meter dash. In third place, Eddie Wintergale of Washington University. In second place, Irene Ward of Brandeis University. And this year's men's 400-meter dash champion from New York University, Malcolm Montilus. Our next event is the women's 60-meter dash. In third place, Mary Martin from the University of Chicago. In second place, Alicia Harris from the University of Chicago. And in first place, this year's women's 60-meter dash champion from Emory University, Danny Bland. Our next event is the men's 60-meter dash. In third place, Xavier Miller from New York University. In second place, Zane Alzano from Washington University. And this year's men's 60-meter dash champion from Carnegie Mellon University, Marvin Bennett.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Our next event is the women's 800-meter run. In third place from Washington University, Sophie Brickhow. In second place from Brandeis University is Doyen Ogundiran.
You want to just put them over there or leave them with a side here for now? Let's just say. Got it.
And this year's women's 800-meter run champion from Washington University, Annalise Wahner. Our next event is the men's 800-meter run. In third place, Thomas Gale from Washington University. In second place, Isaac Bills of Carnegie Mellon University. And this year's men's 800-meter run champion from the University of Chicago, Joe Ramey.
mile.
Our next event is the men's 200-meter dash. In third place, Malcolm Montilus of New York University. In second place, Tyson Miller, University of Chicago. And this year's 200-meter dash champion from Brandeis University, our next event is the women's 3,000-meter run. In third place, Sophie Morrison from Washington University. In second place, Allison Lindsay from Washington University. And this year's women's 300-meter run champion from Brandeis University, Emily Bryson. Our next event is the men's 3,000-meter run. In third place, Ryan Stender, Brandeis University. Second place, Sam Behrman, Case Western Reserve University. And this year's 3,000-meter run champion from New York University, Neil Sandler. Our next event is the women's 4x400-meter relay. In third place, the team of Sophie Grigal, Sarah Messiano, Nancy Alton, and Annalise Wagner from Washington University. In second place, the team of Emma Coulter, Olivia Katow, Mary Martin, and Nicole Becca-Guzman from the University of Chicago. And this year's women's 4x400-meter relay team of Dillis Osei, Caitlin Leonard, Katie Land, and Erica Goldman of Emory University.
Yeah, just talk to me. Show me my for computer.
Oh no.
from the University of Chicago. Next, we'd like to award the team championship in the women's meet. This year's UAA champion goes to the University of Chicago. And next, the 2018 UAA Indoor Track and Field Men's